Frames. Last pack was all about expanding the framework of the Millennium Falcon. We also took a close look at some of the plating and details that will adorn the rear of our ship, but didn't really do anything with any of it. Will it be more of the same in pack 9? Let's find out.
Welcome to the Model Frontier. If you're new to the channel, make sure to smash that subscribe button and ring that notification bell. That way you don't miss a second of any of my great content. Now, I know the last couple of issues, the last couple of packs have been kind of lackluster. We've been kind of building up stuff, but not really doing much, it seems like. Well, you guys are in for a treat this pack, because we are going to be doing quite a lot on this ship. But before we do, we got a gift in this pack. So let's take a look at that free gift that we get with this pack today. So here's the next gift we get in our build this pack, and it is a coffee mug. So it's a nice mug. We got the Millennium Falcon on that side of it. On the other side, it says fastest hunk of junk in the galaxy with Millennium Falcon on the bottom. And it's got a nice shine, you know, kind of metallic look to it. I'm going to enjoy having this. So, just a nice little gift for those who build this model. With that shown, plus we also get another sleeve for our books. But with that done, let's go take a look at the first stage of this amazing pack. So the first thing they want is, so stage 37 starts off with this section of the frame that we have separate, and we're going to be focusing in on this part here where we started the radio rib. As I'm sure you could gather, we need to put one of these pieces in to connect it. And as I like to keep everything kind of going the same direction, the screws are going to go in through this way. So once again, we're going to start with two. Whoops. So we're going to put this piece on here like that, and then we're going to put two of the gold screws into it. And you know what? It may be easier to actually just take this piece off. So let's do it that way. Yeah, so we're going to take the radio rib off. And I'm going to build that like I normally do off camera, and then we're going to put it back on. So go do that. Meet me back here once you got that rib built and put back in place. Just like that. Now you do need to get one extra black screw to put on this part right here. Once you got that in place, we need BF07, which is this piece here. And we're going to put it in place. And for now, it's going to get held in with a single black screw. Just like that. Now next, we have to flip this entire assembly over. We're going to be focusing in on this section right in here of this build. We got to put some connector pieces into it that we get in this stage. These are all 2-pin ones, and they're all held in with the black screws. So the first place we're going to put one of these, one of our connectors, is going to be right here. So we'll be actually connecting two pieces of the hull together. stand by. I'm going to get that in. There we go. I don't mind telling you that was a little tough to get in. Now next, we're going right across from this, and we're going to screw one into here, pointing out this way. And then they want us to put one more onto this point right here, pointing this way. Just like that. Next, we're going to take BF8, and we're coming at it from this side, and we're going to connect this on using those two connectors and two more black screws. And stand by, I got to put these in. I got to take this off camera to put these in, so hang on. Just like that. And then we got one more connector to add, so we're going to flip the whole assembly back over. And right into this section, we're going to put another connector with a pair of black screws. Just like that. And once you get that in there nice and tight, we're going to set this piece of frame aside because we got a hull panel that we got to detail up. So you're going to go ahead and grab that piece, which you got from, which came in issue 36, and the sprue that also came with it and all the other parts. Meet me back here when you got all that gathered up, and we'll continue. So for this part of stage 37, we're going to need this giant piece of the panels that we got. This is BP28. We got this back in issue 36. And then we have some details that we're going to put onto this. So the first details they want us to put on are these strips. Now they are directional. You can see that there's one end that's tapered, and it's going to go in right along the edge here, and it should fit flush into the thing. So we're going to put some glue on the tips where those go in. And maybe just a little bit on the piece here. And then we're going to put it in place. Just like that, and then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Just like that. Now next, we've got this piece right here. And it's only going to go in one way. You've got two locator lugs here, so we're going to do a little dry fit. It's obvious how that's going to fit on there. So where I'm going to put my glue, so I'm going to put some in the two connecting points here, and then just around the edging on this here. And on these two side pieces here. so that when it contacts, it's going to have some glue connecting it. And actually, I'm going to put a little bit more on this section. Just like that. Now we're going to glue that down. Perfect. That's now in place. Now for the end of this part, for the end of this stage, we're going to be focusing in on this section of the build. And for this, we need our handy sprue here. And the first pieces we're going to want are these circular pieces here. And then just to dry fit them, so they're going to go in there, they're going to go in here, and they're going to fit in there just like that. So for this part, you'd probably want to put the glue on the piece, and then we can get the part in there. Just like that. Now the last piece we got is this little detail here, and it's going to go into this part of the ship. Now it can only fit in one way. It's going to kind of fit in just like that. So we want to obviously put some glue into the 2 points where it's going to connect. Put that in place just like that. So now with that done, looking all like that, that is it for stage 37. So stage 38 is having us start with this section, and we're taking this bit of light that we got in the last stage, in stage 37. You don't want us to unfold the wiring yet, but I just took the thing off. So we're going to end up unfolding it anyway. And realistically speaking, they want us to work from the top. So they want us to go in through this hole here. The strip should just fit if we go through. It should just fit through there. Like that. Now we're going to turn it over. Put that down. And we're going to dry fit where it's going to go. So it's going to go right along here. And we're going to be careful not to cover any of these holes here. So we're going to want this to be kind of like this. Oh, sorry. So we're going to put it right down in here, and we want to be careful not to cover these holes up. So once we do a dry fit of it, we got to take off this part of the double-sided tape. Alright, now let's just put this on here. I would recommend starting from this side and then just kind of pressing it all the way down here. Just like that. So now that light's in, we're going to put this off to the side. Because now we gotta start preparing the ramp. Now obviously this is gonna go on the outside of the ship, so we're gonna be working on this section first. First we gotta do a test fit of this. It's gonna fit in to here. So it's gonna go down here like this. And then we have a second piece here, which is gonna go over that to hold that in place. So to do that, we're gonna have to glue this into place. Now with this gluing section, you do not want the piece to get into the hinge. So just a tiny, see, I'm getting a little too much glue on that, I can already tell. Just a tiny dabble of glue there and there. Remember, a single drop of CA glue will hold up to 7 pounds. So you don't need it to be quite crazy. So I'm going to put that together here. Just like that. It may actually be easier to do it while it's not sitting on a table and you can hold it in place until it sets. But when it's done, this should fold up and it should fold back out. Now at this stage you can paint this whole ramp because it is not white like it's shown here. So you can paint this whatever kind of color you want. I'm gonna be using, it's called Payne's Gray. It's kind of a little bit of a gray, a darker gray, almost black, but not quite. So I'm gonna paint mine like that, and then I'll meet you back here to show you what it looks like when it's all done and dried. And there we go. So now that part's painted. I also took the opportunity while I have it to paint the bottom section of this. Just because you might as well since you got the chance. So now the next parts we need are these. And naturally with these, we are going to fit them into this section. Now these will only fit in one certain way. They're basically meant to sit in there kind of like that. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to put some glue into the sections here and put both of these into place. Just like that. Now, we're going to set this aside for the moment, because now we have to assemble a hinge for this. This is all metal. So the first piece that we're going to use is this section. It's important that we get this right. So with it facing this way, we're going to have one arm like this being held in there, and each arm gets held in at this point with 2 of the black screws. Just like that. Now next we gotta mount that. We're gonna mount this onto this section, kind of like this. But before we do, the instructions do recommend that you use a little bit of thread locker on your screws before you do this. Because it says that you can't tighten these screws fully because you want this to be a hinge that works. So there's a chance that over time, this hinge will weaken. Whoop, that was a lot. So they recommend you put a little bit of thread locker to the screw. Watch how fast this stuff came out. We're going to do this one screw at a time here. So I'm going to take my screw magnetized. I'm just going to take a little dab of the thread locker, apply it to the screw, and then with this little tab facing the inside, we're going to screw it in place. But again, we are not going to go in all the way on that. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. There we go. Just like that, that hinge is now in place. Now with that done, it's time to put all of this together. So we want our hinge, our ramp, and the housing for the ramp. And what I want to do first is just kind of a dry fit of everything. So if we put the ramp in place here, things should just about kind of line up a little bit. It should fit in there just nicely. So with the ramp like that, we want to put this hinge on it. The fatter part's going to go on the back, and the smaller part's going to go on the front. And we're going to hold that, we're going to hold these all in with 8 of these flanged screws. Just like that, and if it works, which it does, our ramp should be able to open and close. Now, keep in mind, it will not stay closed at this stage because we don't have anything to stop it from opening. But for right now, that is it for this stage of the build. Okay, so stage 39 starts with us having to assemble the hydraulics and actuators for the ramp. Now, you will notice that you have 2 different sizes of everything. We have a large and a small together. So all the large parts get put together and all the small parts get put together. So what we end up doing first is we're going to start with a small. We got a small mount, a small tube which is going to fit right in here. You're going to push that all the way down. And then you're going to grab a short end. And you're going to put it into this. Whoop. Might want to get some glue on that. You just want to put a little glue on the end of the thing here. It says it's supposed to be a tight fit, but if it's not, you can glue it. we're looking at it this way, we should have one going like this. So one should look like that, and then you'll want a mirror on the other side. So I'm going to go do that off camera and show you what that looks like. So they should look like that, and each one should be able to freely move up and down. So just make sure if you glued them down, you didn't glue the parts to them. Now we've got a little bit of a tricky part to do. So we're going to put these aside for the moment, but not too far aside because we will need them. Because we're going to need these really tiny parts and these really tiny pins. They recommend you use some tape. I'm going to recommend, yes, do that. Because what we're going to need to do is one at a time, because you don't want to lose these. So we'll clip one of these off here. And we're probably going to want a pair of pliers for this. So we're going to stick the head of one of these pins, which again are tiny, tiny, tiny. There is a tapered end. We're going to stick that end up. Unfortunately, these are so tiny and they don't give you extras. So you've got to be mindful of these. Okay, there. Now we're going to take one of these actuators, one of these parts, and it says from the outer side, which looks like this, we want to put this pin through. I've got this backwards here. So the pin's going to go through this flat edge of the thing like that. That actually went through pretty easily. And then we want to put this end through. Whoop, it's coming out of hand. And then we're going to want to put this end through so it kind of makes an L shape. And once you get it started, you can take the tape off and just pinch it together. Whoops. Okay, so we take the tape off, and now maybe we can just use some elbow grease here. Hang on. Got it. So the easiest thing to do is to kind of just set it on a flat part of your table and push down on it. Once you got that in, though, it should do just like that. So once again, I'm going to go off camera, do the other three, and come back when that's all said and done. And there we go, just like that. We got these pivots on there. It's actually not that tough to do as I thought it was going to be. Now we got the 4 actuators assembled. We're going to put those aside. We're going to bring over our section of the frame, because we're actually going to put this piece into position. So if we're putting it into position here, it's going to sit just like this. Make sure we're not pinching a wire there. Perfect. And we're going to hold that in place with 8 of those flanged screws. There we go, just like that. The ramp is onto the frame. A good rule of thumb is when you're putting the when you're putting the pegs in, they are pegs, so they should kind of pop into place. If you have to put a little pressure on, make sure you're careful because you don't want to break the metal or the plastic. Now we need to set that aside. And we're going to bring over the motor that we're going to be working on for this stage. So the first thing we need is off of the sprue here. We have another pivot that goes to the motor. So we're going to take that off. And then we have a short arm right here where the pivot's going to go. And for this, they do provide us with a pin. This one they give us spares of, but we should only need one. So what I'm probably going to want to do is start by putting the pin through. Oh, this is going to be a little tricky. It's going to be tricky to show too. So put the pivot there. Okay, hang on. Stand by. I'm going to have to do this off camera. It's going to be tricky. Just like that. Now, it's tricky to describe how to do it. The best way I found was I put one side in, then I kind of fed it through about 3/4 of the way, and then you find a flat spot, and just like you were doing with the actuators, get it into place. Now, once you can tell that that is free, I tell you to put a spot of glue on the underside of the pivot, but I don't see how you can do that on this. Looks pretty fine to me. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a little tiny spot of glue just on the outer portions. That way it will still... Actually, I don't think I want to do that. Well, the pin should be fine. So I'm going to take a risk and say we're not going to do that. Now next is tricky, because we're going to be bringing this part over, and we need to fit the pivot into this point, which we can see right in there. Get this wire out of the way. Yeah, stand by a minute. Because once we get that pivot point in there, where it's got to go, there's there's 4 holes we need to line up. And they want us to screw that in with black screws. Just like that. Now the motor, if you have to put some glue onto this pivot here, that's fine. But at the end of the day, once you get the motor in place, this ramp should not be able to open up. Because the motor is what's going to open and close the ramp from here on out. Next, we're going to put in the actuators. Now we're going to start with the outer ones first. The outer ones are your longer actuators. And to get them in, you're going to pop that into place there. Well, you want to put a spot of glue on the 2 pins of this pivot here. And then once you got the glue in place on that, you want to put that into the pivot, into the slot here. And then we're going to screw the outer part of this down with a pair of the black screws. There we go. You're going to put the same longer actuator on this part, and then you're going to do the same thing with the two smaller actuators in this section. So go do that, and we'll meet back here when you're all done. There we go. So now with all that done, the actuator's in, the motor in place, we are now done with stage 39. So with stage 40, we're going to actually finally get the entire framework for the bottom done. But to start, we first got to put some two-prong connectors onto the frame we've got. So our first connector is going to go right here. As always, we're going to put in him with one black screw. We're going to put another connector here. And then the last connector we're going to put in to this point right here. Now, once your connectors are all in place, you need the other big section of your frame. The first thing you're going to want to do is you want to make sure you're not pinching any wires in here. And you want to get these sections on the underside of this, the middle. And now we're going to make sure we get everything lined up. And now we're going to screw all this together with the black screws. So we need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for this one. And 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to need 10 black screws in total to get all these pieces on. Probably be best to start, maybe it'd be better to start in the middle. So we get the middle section in place. Oh, nope. 12. There's 2 right here to put in. I said 10 screws. There's 12 you got to use. There we go. Now that we got the middle in place, just go around, get the rest of those screws in place, and we'll meet back here when you're all done and I'm all done. Just like that. And if we scroll up and back down, you can see we are now done with the bottom frame of our Millennium Falcon. And just looking ahead a little bit, that is actually all we're doing for the frame. So that is it for this stage. You can go put your frame back on your jig for safekeeping. And we'll continue on with the final stage of this pack. Now after that exciting part of the build, it kind of feels a little anticlimactic what we're about to do, but this is where we're going to start with stage 41, and we're going to be building one of the gunner control platforms. So the first pieces we're going to need the main platform mount. And then we need the seat cushion, which is this piece here. And then we're going to face this way with the square side up. I'm just going to do a dry fit real quick here. Yeah, the seat cushion should just kind of fit in there. So I think I want to put my glue in here on this part. And maybe a little bit on the bottom and on the edges here. And we'll glue that down. Just like that. Now we want the seat back, which is this piece right here. And we got a tab here, which will fit in to this groove. I know it's going to be a little hard to see. Let me try to focus. Hang on. That's a little better. So we got a groove right here, which is going to get the back of this seat. So I'm going to spread my glue on this part here. Just like that. And then we're going to glue that into place. Give your glue a second to hold that. Now next, on the back side here, we have a rear support, which is this tiny piece here. We want to glue this to the back of the seat. So it's just going to kind of sit in there like that. Just like that. Next, we've got the firing grips, which are these little guys right there. And that's going to get glued to the front, in the hole in the front of the seat. So there's a little hole right here that these are going to go in. Nice and straight like that. Now next, we have a control mount, which is this guy here. And it's going to get glued into this square here and touch the wheel. Or the control things. It's not really a wheel because it's a gun mount. So put My glue on those parts. I'm going to stick it in place. And you do want this to touch. So it should touch like that. There we are. Now they're touching, so just like that. Now we need the targeting computer, which is this piece. And that's going to get glued into this section here. So now we got that going on. Now we've got a tiny detail, a pivot, which is this thing right there that looks like a little cone. And that is meant to be glued down in front of the targeting computer. Flat end, the fatter end goes into the hole. Like that. Next on the sprue we got two pedals. These two pedals, they're going to go on either side of that. Just like that. And they do go in that direction, so the longer way points to the front. And then the last thing we have on the sprue is the rotating base, which is going to go in here. It can only fit in one way because it is shaped. I don't know if you can see that, but it is shaped. So it will only fit in one direction. There we go. So now with that assembled, we're going to put that aside. And we've got to assemble the turret well. So we're going to do it the way they show in the instructions. Oops, the instructions have them like this. So just like the instructions show, we're going to have that like that. And then we have like this here. This one there. Then this one here. And this sticker here. So we should be setting it up like that. And then we're going to put the stickers in place. So starting on this side, the first sticker, it's going to go in here. And you want it to line the flat end you want to line up is right here. So once we get an idea of how this is going to go on, we're going to take our backing off. I'm going to fit the flat end I want to keep where it has to go, and then you just kind of rub that down like that. Then you're going to take this panel and we're going to align it with this middle edge right here. So when you're aligning it, yeah, stand by. So when you align those, they should look something similar to this. And yes, there will be some gray showing up here. That is just how it's supposed to look. Now we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Just like that, we got those done. Now we got the left and the right half. They want us to take the LED that we get in this pack, in this stage, and they want us to fit it into here. Somehow. Hang on. I think it's supposed to fit in here. Okay, so we're gonna have to do this a little at a time, because now we gotta glue these together while also using it to hold in the LED. So we're gonna put some glue on these points, on the hole ends here. Like that. Get our LED back into place here, and then we're gonna sandwich all this together. So let's go ahead and let me do that off camera so I have the space to do it. Just like that. So you should be able to have the LED poking through here like that. Next, you're going to take the turret ring, and there's a locating tab on here, which you're going to want to match up to this. So just like that, you're going to want to glue that down. So the final thing they have us doing is we got to get this little seat into our turret hole. And it's supposed to fit in here like this. So I'm going to go get that in place because I got to look at how to do this, and I'll come back and let you know what to do. So I figured out where I went wrong, and you were all probably yelling it at me the whole time. I had the light going into the wrong hole. So the light goes in the hole that's closer to the back because the seat is supposed to fit in right here. And once you get it in there, you're gonna hold that in place with one of the flanged silver screws. Just like that. And once you get that in place, that's all there is to do in this stage. And that's actually all there is to do in this pack. But I'm not going to just leave it at that. So we're going to take a look at a few things. So we can kind of gather that if we have... I'm going to zoom out a little bit here. So we have this piece from the beginning of the build. And we've got a little tab right here, so that is going to go in. Hang on. So it's going to go more or less in like that. And it is a little bit of a tight squeeze, but you can kind of get an idea of just how that will look, especially when you get the light going. Now, one thing you may have also... Whoops, hang on, that wasn't supposed to come off there. Now, one other thing you may have noticed we got in this kit is we got some glazing. Now, this is going to come down to a judgment call on whether or not you want to use this. On the one hand, it will protect your model from getting dust in the insides, but on the other hand, it will make it harder to see inside when you got the light going on. If you do want to use it though, it does kind of hold itself into place. If you do choose to glue it, do not, I repeat, do not use super glue, because if you use super glue, it's going to create a cloudy effect. You'll want to use what's known as PVA glue, which is just like regular Elmer's glue, or you'll want to use some what's called micro crystal clear. It's stuff that dries extra clear. But yeah, I mean, without the light being active, I mean, you can kind of see down in there, but it's very tough. That's going to come down to a judgment call. Again, you don't have to use the glazing. You can. I'm probably going to use it on mine, but that's up to you. But with that done, again, that's all that we have to do for this pack. So that's it for this pack. We did quite a lot, like I said. The lower hull frame is done. We've got one of the turrets, the turret wells, all ready to go. We even got our first plate onto our hull frame. So where we go from here, I don't know, but we'll find out together next time on the Model Frontier.